Hello, thanks for joining us today. We're going to start some seeds indoors for our gardens. And I thought I'd explain why we're starting some seeds and why we wouldn't just go to the regular greenhouse and buy our bedding plants just like the majority of people. So there's a couple reasons for that. One of which is that I am growing regenerative plants in a regenerative garden and organic practices, and I don't want my plants babied with fertilizers. Well, in the greenhouses, that's what they do. They put fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, in the water. So every plant in the greenhouse, regardless if it's a flower or if it's a vegetable plant, is getting fertilizer daily. And I want my plants to be working with my soil microbes and building a relationship with them and not have this fertilizer input. The next reason why I would buy traditional varieties, early girl, big boy, Roma for tomatoes, and I want to have heritage tomatoes that have got a lot of flavor and different qualities about them. Maybe I want a higher acid. Maybe I want Italian Roma that's not your traditional Roma, whatever it is. Then I can plant what I want and get the genetics that I want instead of just what they have at the greenhouse. The third, I think there's really room for someone to start a business, a home business of growing organic bedding plants. In every growing region of the country, there's a few of them here and there. And there's Banner Greenhouse in North Carolina, who's organic supplier. But they also, too, are limited on what the genetic selection is. So food for thought there. So let's go to the greenhouse and plant some. Today, which is March 6th in northern Montana, 49th parallel. To give you an idea, we're growing zone 3. So we can't reliably put plants in the ground outdoors until the 1st of June, which is way different than most of the other country, right? So we have to kind of backdate how these plants are going to grow so that, as we talked about earlier, I think, super important to know which seeds to plant when. So timing is everything. So for the 1st of June. Now, of course, that's going to be a little different if I'm going to plant into a greenhouse, but we're talking about gardening for gardeners because most of you might not have a greenhouse. So today we are going to be working with some long season and slow to germinate, not super fast anyhow, 2-week germination on these guys. And these are warm season crops. In fact, they're cousins. Tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant. So that's what we're going to start this week. But that's all we're going to start this week, other than maybe a little bit of onion. So we're going to try some onion. And so I'll walk you through that. So, big thing is to have your supplies ready, which I like these. Gives really good drainage. And slide them inside of each other. The tray itself, liner tray, has holes in it. Right? It has to drain. And then this has big holes in it. But this is more rigid. This outside one's more rigid, so it's a lot easier to carry. When we put soil in them, they start getting plants in them, they get heavy, they want to kind of go like this. Well, this outside one will stop that from happening. Make it a lot easier for moving them around, carrying them, all that stuff. Okay, so our soil, which is our planting media, that I bought some just like you guys. It's a sunshine mix with microphysal in it. And it comes like this. And pretty dry, right? And so we need that moist before we can work with it. I like to pre-moisten it ahead of time with warm rainwater or warm purified water. I've got cold water today. So, but I'm going to take the sprinkling can and pour it right in the bag, right in the top of the bag. So then the whole bag will start getting moist and be pre-moistened for next week when we go and plant some more. But I pre-moistened just a little bit for this demonstration right here. And it turns darker in color. Smells fantastic. And it'll just start to wake up the microbes, right? The microbes need the water. That's why having it pre-moistened ahead of time will get the microbes already working quicker than ones that are having to come out of hibernation and come back to life, or maybe they're cyst and they're not even living yet. They're just kind of in an egg state sitting there waiting. So as we moisten that, that'll wake them up, get them going, and that's about the texture you want. It's cold, cool, but damp. Great, so for starting our seeds, we're going to start a row with them, put them in a row. So I'm just going to put some of this over in here. I'm not going to do the whole tray today because we're only doing a handful of plants. I don't need too many eggplants. In fact, I'm the only one that probably even eats eggplants, so I'll be shooting for 3 or 4 plants maximum that would go outside. So that's all I would need. The peppers, we'll probably plant a few more peppers than that, but that's really up to you how many you want to plant. I'm only going to plant a few because we don't need too many. So I'm going to get this flattened out here. I'll pat it down just a little bit. You want to have it so that the seeds will get good seed to soil contact. It kind of works good to have a flat surface, especially when it comes for the watering part. So I'm just going to use my plant marker as a way to make a straight, nice row and a little bit of an indent there, about 1/4 inch deep, to set the seeds into. And of course you want to have a marker ready and already filled out because, like I said, these guys are cousins. That means when I open these up and start looking at them, I'm going to do the Napoleon right now, they look just like a tomato seed. And so they're going to be, if I was to do a whole bunch of tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant, I wouldn't be able to tell one seed from another seed. But there's the Napoleon sweet pepper. So, like I said, I don't need too many of these guys, so I'm just going to put a couple of them in here. I'm going to plant them about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch apart so that I've got a good little bit of spacing, because these guys will need to be transplanted out of this container once they get their photosynthesis leaf. So they first come up with a seed leaf. I'll show you that to you later as these start growing. Once we get a mature leaf that's able to do photosynthesis, then we'll transplant them into these 4 cells. You may have 6 cells too, that's fine. But the 4 cell has a little bit bigger soil compartment. Works really good for here. And always has drain holes, right? So we need to have drainage. I like this size because we can get away with the watering a little bit more user-friendly. The smaller that cell, the more they're going to dry out. So let's say these also are made to fit these trays. So if I wanted to do a whole bunch of these like we will next week, this will fill right up. Easy, nice, right? And you just got a 4 cell, take it out, transplant. Alright, so back to our pepper seeds. We've got them setting in there. And of course you guys are going to plant more than that probably, but that's all I'm going to do for this demonstration. And then we mixed up this compost extract earlier, right? So we're going to use this now. And we're just going to pour it right over the top of those seeds. so that they get good contact with those soil microbes. And a little bit of may run out, that's okay, but it's mostly going to get absorbed right into that peat base potting mix, just like that. All right, so next, all we need to do is take a little bit of soil, and talking about a little bit, we don't want them more than maybe an 1/8 to 1/4 inch deep. Put a little soil over the top of those and pat them down. Mark the row and the date, right? You want to date it so then you know if that worked for next year or not. Now remember, I warned you all those seeds look alike because they're cousins. I wouldn't recommend putting more peppers or eggplants or tomatoes in that row, right? Put something else there. I'm not planting anything else today, but maybe leave it open for next week and we'll plant something else in there. Believe me, I've made a mistake before. And I've also planted way too many of them, like 100 tomatoes in that 2-inch area. It's a lot of work to transplant and a lot of stress for those plants because now we're tickling away root to root instead of root in a soil like a root ball around the plant. So believe me, that little bit of spacing, 1/2 inch to 1 inch, will really pay off in the long run. Because our goal is to have our plants just the right size, healthy, and not stressed when we plant them in the garden. So that's it. All right, happy planting, and we'll be back at you soon. Grow healthy. Oh, we forgot to water. We want to water. So preferably, like I said, warm, air temperature, but it is what it is, right? I'm going to plant, put a little bit of water right on top of that. And you'll see they don't use much water while they're trying to germinate. In fact, they won't. But it's dependent on your air temperature and your humidity and where you're going to keep these guys. I'm going to take these guys back inside to the grow lights. My house is dry. I'm in Montana, a dry part of Montana, right? So I may have to water more than you might. If you have moisture in the air, humidity, more cloudy weather than I do, you can see how bright it is today. You might not have to water near as often as I do. So that's kind of goes by your environment. But this soil, this planting media will get really light colored if it's dry. And you could pick up the tray, it'd feel really light, right? This has got a little weight to it already from the dampening. So the moisture is what you are feeling for weight. So I think that's it. Some supplies you might want to catch for if you do want to do onions. I like this size cell. These are our deep 4s. And for our trailing nasturtiums, they're going to go in these. Also sweet peas, things like that. I plant in these. And they work out nice because they will fit in this tray too, without any wasted space, which that's what we want. Right, we'll go into more of those details later as to why we want those to not be wasting space, outside of the obvious. Okay, grow healthy. Well, thank you for watching. Hope you learned a little bit about planting seeds. And if you liked what you saw, of course you know what to do, the subscribe, the like, all that stuff, But next week we will be digging deeper into planting more seeds as we progress through the season here. So we're just hoping to share with you what I'm doing at the right time of year to be hopefully successful in growing nutrient-dense food. So let's grow healthy together.